Hello and welcome back. I'm Krista Gibson, and this is Growing Older and Wiser, with an emphasis on the wise and the wisdom. It's about becoming an elder rather than just becoming an old complainer, and it is our choice. So today I want to talk about self-esteem, which is a huge issue. And many of us have had self-esteem issues since we were kids. In fact, probably everybody does in one way or another. Society can be kind of cruel. There's this alleged image that we're all supposed to live up to, whether we're men or women, boys or girls, black, white, Latina, whatever. There's certain things that kind of we're told are the right way or the right way to be. And most of us aren't those ways. And so we end up feeling bad about ourselves. So I don't know if you've dealt with those things and if you've done any work on it. If you have, then you've kind of got a leg up on this next part. If you haven't, I guess what I want to say is now's the time. We live in a really ageist society. Now I'm talking about the United States. Some of you may live in areas where, elders are more respected. Maybe you live in a culture where the elders are more respected. But just as a general rule in the United States, there is an ageist attitude. There's an attitude that once you're over a certain age, and that depends on who you're talking to as to what the age is, you're kind of a has-been. And, people really don't hold you in the same respect and the same regard that they did. For instance, perhaps you, let's say you've retired, and, you used to go to work every day, and maybe you were even a manager, and people respected you, and you had a certain place that you fit in, the cog in the wheel or whatever, and now you're retired, and you don't have that setting anymore to kind of validate who you are, and you're thrown back on who are you really. And that's one of the things that we get to look at as we age is, who am I really? When I'm not mother, father, grandparent, boss, employee, I don't have any of those labels. Who am I? And that's where we get down to the ageism, because if you start defining yourself by your age, you can run into some issues. Or if you define yourself by your medical condition, because now we all know that you can have medical conditions whether you're young or old. But as we age, we do tend to start having more medical issues. And a friend and I were talking the other day, and she has recently developed some mobility issues. And there was a meeting that she didn't want to go to because she didn't want to feel that these people were judging her because she was having difficulty walking. And I told her, I said, because I have that issue, I walk with a cane. And I told her, I said, I think it's more about how you feel about you than it is how they feel about you. Most people don't think about us as much as we think they do. Most people just see you as another person, and okay, so you've got a cane, big deal. But if you judge yourself because you use a cane, if you judge yourself because of your weight, or you judge yourself because of the color of your skin or whatever, you're going to get more of that attracted to you. And so what I told her is, I said, just go. And I said, realize, if anybody judges you because you have some difficulty walking, then that's on them, not on you. And that's where I've come to, because especially in the metaphysical community, there's a lot of judgment that comes towards you. If you have anything, whether it's a cold or you wear glasses, you use a cane, it's like this kind of an invisible thing, unspoken thing that if you're spiritual, you should kind of like not have those problems. And much as I thought Louise Hay was a wonderful woman, I also think that she contributed a lot to that with her book that she had come out years ago, where she took every or most physical conditions and related them to your mental state or attitude. And although there's some very great truth to many of the things she said, I'm not in the least bit knocking her work. I do think what it set up, however, was an expectation in people that they shouldn't have these issues, that something's wrong with you if you have heart trouble, or something's wrong with you if you use a cane. Now, the big example of that I had was quite a few years ago. I was giving a class at Unity in Seattle, and I had opened the room up for discussion, and this woman asked me, she said, She said, I have cancer. And she said, I'm terminal. And she said, what I'm having difficulty with is how many people in the spiritual community judge me. You know, they all come back and say, well, if you weren't angry, you wouldn't have cancer. If you weren't resentful, you wouldn't have cancer. Just work on those issues and you'll be fine. And she said, I won't be fine. And, you know, I have worked on those issues. And she said, so she said to me, she said, why do I have cancer? What is the reason for my cancer so I can work on it? And I said, well, certainly I don't know you, so I can't tell you why you have cancer. But I said, I would really not pay attention to those people and trust yourself. Go within. It sounds like you're on your own path. And ask yourself, what is this journey about? And how am I to use this journey for my spiritual growth? And I said, you know, something you may find is that the reason you have cancer is to help the people in your environment be more compassionate towards people who have cancer. So I said, some of these people who are judging you and telling you, oh, if only you thought differently, you would be well, you know, maybe that's on them to take a look at why they feel they have the right to tell you that. So maybe the reason you have cancer is to teach the rest of us some compassion. And I say that to you. You know, I don't know what physical conditions you may have, or maybe you have none. But whatever they are, they're your physical condition. And you can look for all kinds of metaphysical reasons and meanings, and I think that's great to do that. And I think it's great to work on our issues, whether they're emotional or spiritual. I also think it's great not to judge ourselves or other people, to look on ourselves with what I call kind eyes. Be kind to other people, be kind to yourself, have kind eyes. So that's a huge self-esteem thing. So the next thing I just wanted to mention is the change in the makeup of the population in the U.S. and on the planet. We are an aging population because of the baby boomers, of which I are one, and maybe you are too. And the statistics, people over the age of 65 make up the fastest growing segment of the U.S. population. Nearly 35 million Americans are over 65, according to the 2010 census, so there's more than that now. The number is expected to double by 2030 to 20% of the population. The last census, 16.8% of people were over the age of 65. So where I'm getting at with that is you're in good company. That when people start to throw out criticisms because of your age, there's a lot of us in that group. And, you know, one of the things I see a lot thrown out to people as a negative is boomer. I even see it in TV shows and movies as an insult, is to call people a boomer. Well, you know what? That has happened to me personally yet. But when it does, I'm going to remind them that we boomers, who you want to put down, we're the generation that provided you with iPhones and a lot of the other technology that you live by now and just think it's so great. Guess who did that? Our generation did that for you. And the other thing is to remember, every generation blames the one that came before them. You know, our generation blamed the people who came ahead of us. The people coming up behind us are going to blame us for the problems, because we tend to do that. It's just a human nature. It's like we have these problems, we got to blame somebody. So let's blame the people who came ahead of us. So I guess the reason I'm bringing that up is if you internalize that, it can make you feel bad about yourself and make you have low self-esteem because of your age. And those things are all so ageist. We're all just who we are. And, we have differing levels of experience because of different ages, but truthfully you can have young people who have really grown a lot in their 20-25 years, and you can have somebody who's 90-95 who hasn't grown at all. So it really isn't an age thing so much as it is you utilizing what's been put on your plate to best advantage. So one of the things I wanted to ask you is and you have a PDF file with some of this on it, but I just want to toss these out to you because I think it is important that we work on feeling better about ourselves if we don't already have pretty high self-esteem. And one of the first things I say is to ask yourself, is there anything I need to do differently in my life that would help me feel better about myself? And that can be things like exercise more, change my diet, allow myself to be more artistic, allow myself to follow my dreams, whatever it may be. But get clear on that. Is there something I can do to make myself feel better? Be kind to yourself, kind eyes. Do not compare yourself to others. And I mentioned this way back in one of the earlier classes. That is so dangerous, to be comparing yourself to anybody. You're different from anybody else. Just compare yourself to yourself and pull yourself out of that whole competitive mindset. Write down your accomplishments and congratulate yourself on them. That's a really big one to do. Learn something new, even if something difficult. Once you see yourself doing it well, you're going to feel really good about yourself. Learn a new language, learn to draw, learn to crochet, whatever, learn to roller skate. I don't know, whatever appeals to you. Speak up. Do not let people push you around or treat you like a child. Somebody does that, be nice but firm. No, I'm not a child. And I can make my own decisions, and just make sure they know that they need to respect you. Stay active with other people. That's really important. If you can stay involved with groups of people or with other people, that's really important. Be as positive as you can. Find things that you feel good about. Find the things that make you feel good about life. Stay as independent as long as you can, as long as it's safe. Keep up with technology. That's a biggie. Be inclusive of others. Speak against ageism when you can, and volunteer, especially if you can be around younger people. You're going to be a big help to them, as well as them being a big help to you. So this week, I really want you to look at this whole issue of self-esteem, kind of see where you're at with it. How do you really feel about yourself? And then kind of look through that list of things, or add to the list, and do some things that will help you make you feel better about yourself and honor who you are, because you are a fabulous, wonderful person. And you know how I know that? I know that you're a wonderful, fabulous person because you're watching these videos and you're doing these exercises. That's how I know you're absolutely 100% fabulous. Have a great week.